Welcome to Proclamation Nation, Episode 1, Separation of what? Hi, I'm Jay Ruth with Nothing But the Truth, and
I'm Ginger Snaps with the Hard Facts.
Right on. Thanks, Ginger. We are a nation sleepwalking while our country is being taken away from us bit by bit, piece by piece, by the vocal minority of this country. Our mission is to awaken our country out of this deep slumber. Today is the first episode where we're going to talk about the who, what, why, where, and when, with special interest in separation of church and state as to when our country was founded. Separation of church and state. Have you ever heard those words, Gwen?
I have many times, actually, as time goes on.
And I read through the Constitution, and I could find those words nowhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what you do know what the words say in Amendment 1, don't you?
No, actually.
No? It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, the way that this
So wait, you're saying then that separation of church and state doesn't appear in the U.S. Constitution?
No.
Okay.
I just told you what it says. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The way it's been perverted by, well, I hate to say it, but the liberals in this country, has meant separation of church and state. We're going to find out why that's the biggest secular lie in probably the past 20 centuries. And to do that, we're going to have to go back to when before our countrymen came here while they were still in England. In England, England remained a Catholic country until 1534, when King Henry VIII, remember the notorious King Henry VIII, he wanted a divorce. What did the Pope say?
No.
No way. He's not going to give him a divorce. So what does he do?
Well, he's got to come up with some other religion, right, or something different.
Created his own religion. Absolutely. King Henry VIII could not get a divorce from his current wife, Catherine of Aragon. So he created his own church, made himself the head of it, the Church of England, and dissolved the monasteries and religious orders in England. The
Anglican Church.
Right. Henry did not himself accept Protestant innovations in doctrine or liturgy in his new religion either. It was basically the Catholic Church with his head as the Pope, the new Pope of the Church. Ridiculous. But when you're king, you can do whatever you want to, right? Now,
so is it like originally the Catholic doctrine says that the Pope should have the ultimate authority over the church and indirectly over the state?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now he's the head. Now he's the Pope. So he's got the head of everything. And you have to remember, the Catholic Church was very influential at this time. Okay. So, King Henry's come and gone, and then the institutional church in England briefly acquiesced to Catholic practice during the reign of Catholic Queen Mary from 1553 to 1558. Mary believed that she had a mission to bring back the whole country of England to the Catholic faith. Now, when Mary died and Elizabeth became queen, the religion situation in England was confused. Throughout the seesawing religious landscape of the reigns of King Henry VIII, Edward VI, and Mary, a significant proportion of the population, especially in the rural outlying areas of the country, are likely to have continued to hold Catholic views, at least in private, because they weren't allowed to publicly hold those views. By the end of Elizabeth's reign, however, England was clearly a Protestant country, and Catholics were a minority now. Okay, so now the Catholics have to practice their faith sort of underground. Yeah. Elizabeth's first act was to reverse her sister's reestablishment of catechism. But during the first years of her reign, there was relative leniency towards Catholics who were willing to keep their religion private, especially if they were prepared to continue to attend their parish churches. So in other words, Gwen, if they in public went to the new parish churches of the Church of England, they could still keep their Catholic views underground and they weren't beheaded or asked to leave the country. So on and so forth. So here we have men who were sick of being told what religion that they had to practice. That's one of the main reasons they put that Congress shall make no law regarding religion in there. It wasn't a separation of church and state where one was without the other. The framers of our Constitution couldn't imagine a country without God in it. They were very religious men. Okay, so now we've got men that have been told what religion to become. Okay, obviously they're all Christian men, whether they be Quakers, Puritans, Catholics, Protestants. They're all very religious. I hate that word religious, Gwen, but to use it in man's terms, they were God-fearing men in this country. Okay, now, to say that this is separation of church and state comes out of government or Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof is ludicrous for another point also. During the founding of our country, when we were writing the Constitution, Gwen, you couldn't hold office in 12 of the 13 colonies unless you signed a statement of faith stating that you were some type of Christian, whether it was Puritan, Catholic, Quaker, it didn't matter. You had to sign a statement of faith just to hold public office. Thus, again, exposing the secular lie that this is separation of church and state. Our founding fathers couldn't imagine a country not run without God in it, period. Now, the main problem with the framers of the Constitution was not, in fact, they pulled off a deistic or secular coup d'etat, but that they lacked the foresight to realize the possibility of the emergence of an anti-Christian ethos capable of employing a chiefly procedural political document to undermine the Christian faith. In other words, they had no idea that we would evolve as a nation into a nation of a vocal minority of unbelievers trying to rule this country. I mean, that's some serious stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
They're rolling over in their graves right now. I can guarantee you that. And now recall too at this time that the various states were like little countries, and the nation essentially is a confederate of these states. Significantly, most of the states' constitutions required a religious Christian profession for office, and thus the framers' intent in writing the Constitution was not to explicate their religious views, be it Catholic or Protestant or Quaker or Puritan,
right,
but to fashion a guidelines of a federal system of government. The point is not that a state or constitution can be religiously neutral, but that the framers did not feel obligated to explicate the religious convictions in what they saw as a procedural document. It had nothing to do with faith. These were men of faith talking about creating a constitution for us all to live by. It was a natural. I don't want to use the word occurrence. It was beyond their comprehension to imagine anything else.
Agreed. Yeah.
Now, much is made of Article 6 of the Constitution requiring the abolition of religious test oaths for any federal or state office. It says no religious test should ever be required as a qualification for any office or public trust under the United States. This sentiment is also found in Federalist Paper 52, Jefferson. That political office is open without regard to any particular profession of religious faith. On the surface, this appears to be an institutional blow to Christian society, but only on the surface. It must be recalled that the profession of the Christian faith was dominant in the colonies and the early United States. There were established churches in most of the states at the time, and even too well into the 19th century, which puts to lie the common secularist charge that the First Amendment was designed to prohibit all religious establishment of any kind in this country. There were likewise religious test oaths, usually Protestant, in some of the states. Still, even after our Constitution was signed. While we cannot be absolutely sure of the meaning of religious or religious faith as used in the Federalist Constitution, it is likely means within the Christian faith. In other words, they were not going to give a religious test oath or religious oath saying that you were a Catholic, or saying you were a Protestant, or saying you were a Baptist, or a Quaker. But religious test oaths, even after signing of constitutions, were still used in the states. Either you're a Christian or you're not. Either you're a Christian who can hold office in the state, or